So welcome everybody to RightTool for QuickBooks Online, January 2026 update. We are doing this based on version 1.38.2, which was released this morning, February 4th, 2026. Table of contents. I'll do a quick run through of updates that are going on in the RightTool world. Some are not necessarily new, but it's really important to update people on exactly what's going on. We're going to do an existing feature deep dive. So every webinar, we'll try to go back to something that's not necessarily a new feature that we don't see a whole lot of usage on, and we want to give it a highlight to raise more awareness about that feature. And this feature is going to give context to some new thing that we created today that was sort of semi-inspired by that baseline. So that's batch edit in reports. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to do a couple updates on existing features. So what have we updated on something that still exists? Then we'll go into a new feature that we added in RightTool Free, a couple of features we added in RightTool Pro, and if we have time, I'm going to answer a live community question in depth that has a lot of moving parts. So only if we have time, I promise that person I will make a video about it. Maybe I'll do it in this exact instance. Mark, how are you? Anything new going on in your world?
I mean, nothing much. Can't really think of anything that's happened
Really? You
recently.
can't think of anything that has happened between our December session and this session? You can't think of one really important thing in your life that happened, at least one thing.
Um, oh, I mean, I stayed up pretty late to get this particular the feature that we're going to be showing off here done. Is that what you're talking about?
No. A certain thing that happened at the beginning of January in Orlando.
I just like messing with the people who know. But yes, we did. We did get married, or not we, to be clear, not me and Hector, but me and Jess, my longtime partner, have gotten married in January. So it's a long time coming. We're happy to have it happen. We've been together for 14 years up to that point. So
Congrats, man. And I was privileged to be invited to such a beautiful event. And what was truly epic about it is that you had like your wedding pictures was you with fireworks in the background. And one specific picture, one of the fireworks was I don't know if it was on purpose or it was kind of shaped like a heart. It was really awesome, man. Congratulations to you and Jessica. Beautiful
oh,
event.
thank you.
Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. So we talked about the RightTool certification last webinar. There's a free version of the certification, so certification that's available for free users. And the expert version of the certification is still free, but you need to be a pro user, an active pro user, to have access to that. Now we have the link to the 3-part series. It's 2 hours each, so 6 hours in total, that contains all the training that's required in order to pass the exams. The first video, the first 2-hour video, part 1, covers the RightTool Certified User Program that's available for all free editions. And then parts 2 and part 3 are broken down into batching tools and non-batching tools that cover all the pro features that's available in the Certified RightTool Expert Program. Now, when you log in to righttoolpro.com, to our backend, when you log in, you will see that the RightTool certified user with the blue logo, that should be available for you to click on that and take the test. And once you pass that test, if you're a pro user, you have access to taking the two additional tests or one test, Mark.
It's just one test for the certified expert.
It's one test, but it's containing two videos.
Yeah.
And that we kind of released we were going to release 2-part tests, and that might change. So right now it's just one test in there. And it's how many questions, Mark? Was it 50 questions?
It is essentially 50 questions. There's one question that's kind of a freebie that we put in there just so I can let people know, like if you're using an Apple computer, just know that whenever we say control, we mean
Okay.
command.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so you gotta pass that second test. So we made the first version of this a little bit easier. We're gonna, as we kind of see the pass rates, we'll try to make it a little bit more difficult so we can have some filtering system, because we want sort of the best of the best of QuickBooks Online users and RightTool expert users to be in this program. for multiple reasons. One is we have a RightTool directory. So if you go to righttoolpro.com and you click on directory, we're only going to be listing the advanced certified users. So if you actually go into, let's just look at that really quick, righttoolpro.com. And we haven't done a lot of marketing right now to promote that. But if you go in there, you're going to see we enabled listing both certification holders, the free certification and the expert certification. But as we get more of the expert users listed here, and we have kind of a list that looks like a decent list, we'll revert back to the original plan, which is only putting the experts in there. Now, I want to say congratulations to Lindsay Willis to being the first official RightTool expert to get certified. So Lindsay, if you're watching, congratulations. Thank you for the initiative. Thank you for being a leader in this area. And, thank you and you came to the RightTool retreat. So it makes sense, that you led the way. We're very excited about the brand. We obviously love brand ambassadors, and you have become one. So congratulations on that. So we're going to start marketing this list as we refine, have a system where the pictures are all uniform, a system where everybody has their descriptions. People can choose whether or not they want to put the contact information. People can choose whether or not they can book an appointment. Because what we want to do eventually is we have quite a bit of users using RightTool, and they're not all accountants. We have a lot of, small businesses, business owners. So we would love, if somehow through the brand, people want to find an accounting professional, an expert in RightTool, whether they need RightTool help or accounting help. The idea is that we kind of have let's call it a better directory than the Pro Advisor program. Now, the Pro Advisor program has a great directory. It's searchable in Google. It has hundreds of thousands of people in it. But ours will be a much more curated list. Like, you think to yourself, I know a lot of you are accounting professionals, but I want you to kind of put yourselves on the shoes of like, you retired and you're a business owner, and you go out and find an accounting professional. You want to find an accounting professional that's very committed to being high tech, to using the most effective and efficient tools out there. And we think, obviously we're biased, but we think that RightTool users are special type of accountants, right? Like there's a difference between a RightTool user and a non-RightTool user. And you could tell, how techy they are, how tech forward they are, all that stuff. So like, we're thinking that directory is going to have a little bit more additional value. The other thing that's really important is after tax season, as we start releasing some beta features that are part of the development program, we're going to give you the advanced users, the experienced users, access to testing those features, and you guys can be first line of defense for us and also give us great suggestions. And we're almost done with the affiliate program, with the revenue sharing program. Again, we should be done around end of tax season, where all the certified experts can recommend RightTool and get paid for bringing paid customers. And again, after tax season as well, we're going to figure out if there's an opportunity for you guys to do some of our, let's call it tech support or paid onboarding, and they get paid for that too. So that's kind of what we're thinking about. The other thing I wanted to just emphasize, I know all of you already have downloaded RightTool that you're watching this at this point, but some haven't. This little link here takes you straight into your Google Chrome landing page where you can install the tool. So right now I have it installed. I'm going to click on remove from Chrome. So I remove it. I just want to make sure that you know that if you ever remove your tool from Chrome, you're going to uninstall it, and all your settings that are in there right now will basically disappear. So just be careful with uninstalling or removing from Chrome, because if you remove and add again, same thing happens if you add it in a new computer or in a new type of browser. None of the settings come in. So you just kind of have to make sure that. Now, if you are a RightTool Pro user, you can actually back up your settings. And backing up your settings is useful for multiple concepts. One would be and I'm going to log back in, so I'm in my Pro account. But the concept behind backing up your settings is, one, so if you ever have to uninstall it and reinstall it again, okay, that's kind of like one use case. And the second one is if you are going to move from one computer to the other, or have a second computer with RightTool and you want to log in that computer and you want the settings from the first computer to come over, that's what these buttons are for, right? So we can back up our settings, back up our favorites, back up our scripts. So all that, when you press that backup button, whatever's on your RightTool at the moment gets loaded into your account. And then if I click on restore in any of these, whatever the last backup was, you click on that and that gets restored. We're missing something that we said we're going to have at some point. And Mark, I might need your help in this. Is after we back up the settings, we want to see here when the last backup was. So
that's fair.
One thing that can pull from the server to know when the last backup was, so we kind of have some context in terms of when the last backup was. We kind of mentioned it on a past webinar, but we didn't add it to our list of to-do list. Okay, so I wanted to make sure we talk about that. And another really important piece is you must have an account, whether you have a free account or a pro paid account. You must have an account to be able to switch your settings, because that's a major change that we did. So if you're a free user and you have not yet created an account, make sure you click on that link here and go to the process right here. It says free, and just click on get started. Go ahead and create your account, because let me show you what happens. So I'm gonna log out of my settings. I'm gonna refresh. And I can't click on any of these features to change. I can't turn things off and on because we need to have an account in there. That's going to be, we decided to make this change for multiple reasons. One, we want to know who our users are, right? We have over 40,000 downloads and we haven't collected who our users are. The only people that we know that are our free users are the people that attend these webinars, right? Or that registered for the webinars, or that somehow we collected the email address at some point in the process. So that's really important. The other piece is for logged in users, we are going to, I don't know if that's enabled already, Mark, but do we have the ability for logged in free users to do a backup? I don't remember that one specifically. Let me see if I remember.
I'm gonna say yes, but don't trust me.
Okay. Yeah. So let me log in really quick to see if okay, so I believe this one's a free account. Let me just refresh here, because I've hard to keep track of all the things that we change, because we change a lot of stuff. Okay, yeah, that's a pro account too. So I believe that we had made that change recently, or we intend to change. So free users also will be able to back up. Like, we just kind of want to give you one more sort of a positive thing around creating an account, because we got a lot of people used to not having an account at all. Some quick updates in our community. So we have 42,000 plus active downloads. We have 140 5-star ratings. If you click on the link that's in the slides here, and then you go down to somewhere where you can write a review, we would appreciate that very much. I mean, our growth is tied to how many people look at this and say this is a great app. So we're blessed that the 140 reviews that we got are all 5 stars. We would love, if you are a person that believes that RightTool is a 5-star type of tool, please spend 2 minutes, spend 3 minutes, and write a review for the world to see. We have about 3,800 pro or pro light users. These are the paid users. And our Facebook group, strongly recommend that we jump on our Facebook group. It's 5,600 users. The Facebook group is extremely valuable for suggesting features, for asking questions, for reporting bugs, all that stuff. There's actually one really cool question that Jill asked, which is about cleaning up accounts receivable, asking if RightTool has a feature to do that. We kind of do, kind of don't. So I'm actually going to walk you through that at the very end. That's kind of the bonus section of this. So I told her I have a video about it. So I'll take advantage of this webinar to answer that question. So that'll be kind of the bonus feature. With that said, let's talk about an existing feature that's worth doing a deep dive on, which is called batch edit in reports. So let's go into QuickBooks Online. I'm going to click on settings, and then under batch pro. So this is a paid feature. So under batch pro, is called batch edit inside reports. So make sure you have that on. To avoid confusion, I'll turn everything off but that, and then click on save. So we got batch edit inside reports. There's actually 2 ways to access batch edit inside reports. One, you can click on the little eye icon, and then in the eye icon, on the description, there's a link here that says, here's a list of currently working reports. That was kind of our first approach, is just to have a Google sheet where we kind of list all the actions that you can take and the report that is based out of. So we have to figure out which is the source report, sort of the starting point that we will use to make the batch editing from. And then there's the report URL, so you can go directly into that report. So this was our first attempt to having a database, because I mean, every report has to be configured different for that particular batch edit function to work. But there's another access point, which is if you click on the plus icon or the create icon, that's housed in the right bar. So really important. Like if you actually click on the regular create button, we're trying not to make modifications to like QuickBooks default features. But if you use our create button, the one in RightTool, right there under other, all the way down, you will see where it says RightTool batch edit. So when you click on RightTool batch edit, it's going to open up this little pop-up screen. And this little pop-up screen is basically the list of all the reports. The same thing, exactly the same thing as the spreadsheet here, but in an interface that kind of feels like it's inside QuickBooks. So you can scroll up and down here, or you can search for something. So if you type the word class or something, you can see all of the ones that have something with class in it. Or if you type, let's say project, then all the ones that have a project in it. So you go through this list, and then batch editing anything in particular. So we have batch editing custom fields. We have batch editing whether a customer is tax exempt or not. We got batch turning off billable checkbox and time entries. We have change class and locations on time entries. We have custom fields in transactions, which is different than custom fields in a customer or vendor. We have the customer projects in line. We have changing accounts, even on transactions that have products and services. So it doesn't really matter if it's got a product or service. You can change the underlying account sort of behind that transaction, changing the actual product and service. So if you got the wrong item or the wrong in there, and then changing the class item on line item classes on line item transactions, changing the class allocation on tag transactions. That's for the old tags. And changing the payment terms on bills, and changing class on products and services. So that's kind of the one. So let's do a couple of examples. So let's do change class on product and services. I'm going to go to product and service list, which is going to give me the report. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of these work in classic reports and some of these work in modern reports. I'm going to discuss that because that's going to be a major sort of development piece of this. So you're going to see that some of these items have a class associated with it. Now, what does a class associated with it mean? Okay, I'm going to click on this one that's called plans. Okay, so I'm going to click on this item called plans. That should give me the edit item screen. And then I have a drop down here for the class. So if I have a class selected here, or I have an empty class, whatever it happens to be, right? So I got a class or an empty class. This report is set up so it shows up the class. So if I have items missing classes or with the wrong default class, I can click on batch edit here. And this is not a transaction edit. This is a sort of an entity list entity edit. We're editing the underlying product itself for its default class. I go to next, and then I pick the ones that I want to. So let's say, for example, all of these here, I can shift click and select a whole bunch, and then select which class I want to assign to it. So this is the actual class list from my QuickBooks file. And then I click on run batch, and then RightTool will go in and basically open up each item and edit that class for you. So the next time you create a transaction and you select that item, the transaction will automatically have that class associated with it. So for example, we got this one called site work labor. So when I go and create, let's say, an invoice, and I go down here and I pick site work labor. So I assume it's this one. The class gets automatically populated. So that's a default feature that QuickBooks has, which is defaulting the class based on what that is. Okay. So this is, so what we just did just there is to edit the underlying default class of an item. So when you create a new transaction, that new transaction gets updated. If you need to update the class on an existing transaction, that's a different report, so to speak, a different action. So let's go to tool batch edit, and then we can go to change class in line items of transactions. So we go to that report. It's going to be a different report that's configured different. RightTool reads it as a different action that you're trying to take. So when you go batch edit, it happens through here. So you go into batch, and then whatever transaction is missing a class, or you can replace the existing class, change the class you want to use, run the batch, and it will do it for those transactions. Now, that's the same essentially as using the reclassify transaction screen, which allows you to change classes on any transactions. The difference is, instead of the interface being this screen, the interface is a report. So you would ask me, Hector, what's the point of adding a feature where you can batch edit something where there's already an existing feature in QuickBooks, so you can do that? The thing is that this screen only has a couple of filters that you can do, whereas a report has a lot more options for filters. So let me just do all dates here. So in reports, you can go to customize, you can go to filter, and there's a whole bunch of other things that you can filter by. So again, when you're batch editing, sometimes the context of other data of other fields of that filtering is helpful. So that's why we strongly believe that working from a report could be a lot more powerful than working from that reclassify feature that's kind of very limited. Okay. And again, you have to click on the new button inside the RightTool right navigation bar to then go into RightTool batch edit, and then open up this pop-up that gives you the list of everything. So there's a whole bunch of things already in it, but there's also a lot of opportunities of things that we can do. So I'm going to ask you the question. We have a slide so if you downloaded the slides, that has it all on slides, so you can print this, have that ready. But I wanted to ask you a question, and we'll get the feedback here in the live chat. What other fields are you missing from being able to do batch editing? So like, you find yourself doing a cleanup job or trying to fix some wrong accounting, other than what we have there now, what fields do you find yourself trying to change in batch? Okay. And one of the hardest things to do is, I believe, billable expenses. Is that
Bill,
true?
it's first thing that popped up in the chat, which is so funny that that's how it works out. Billable expenses, I can try a second time to get that to work on it. I think it can be done. I just gotta get through it. Billable expenses are weird because in QuickBooks it creates this weird like three transactions that are linked together basically. Like on the back end at least, it
Yeah.
looks like there's like three transactions linked together.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. It is what it is. We'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yep. Now somebody's saying categories and income and COGS accounts. So I'm going to ask you, I think it's called ACAN bookkeeping. Clarify that. That's really important because I actually don't know exactly what you mean by that, by categories and
Oh,
income and COGS account.
gotcha.
Vendor name is a tricky one. We don't have vendor name in our reports one, but it seems to be one that people ask quite a bit. I do want to emphasize that we do have a tool in the Pro feature in the batching called batch
Products.
edit in the register, and that one allows you to batch edit the vendor name. The problem is that it's only based on each bank account or each credit card account, right? So that's a little bit of the challenge. So we probably will work on some sort of batch editing of vendors from a report, because that would be
Well, and I think this actually becomes a good question in its own self. If you're referring to like changing the vendor on a transaction, then yeah, the register is a good place to do that. If you're talking about the vendor name, like literally the name of the vendor, then we are actively going to be working on that for the next up or not next update, but the next webinar. There should be a whole feature for changing like vendor names or customer names in bulk.
Yeah, so I'll give some context. So when they mean the actual vendor name, and not changing the vendor in transactions, or not updating missing vendors in transactions. We're not talking about that. We're talking about something where you look at your vendor list, and then in here you do some renaming, right? Or add a character or remove a character, or maybe we expand a little bit into all the fields are available, and then we have phone numbers and company name and full name or something like that, and then we mess with the ability of changing these things. Okay, so batch editing the entry name itself, not necessarily the batch editing the one in transactions. There are two legitimate requests, two separate requests. One to batch edit vendors on transactions already created, and the other one is edit the underlying vendor itself. Okay, so those are two legitimate things that people are asking for. So we'll add that into our queue for something for us to do. And another one that people ask for a lot is batch editing journal entry names, like the actual journal entry number, because QuickBooks has a very weird thing on the way it creates journal entry names. So we have that on the I think we should have that on our list, right? Mark, I think we requested that a couple months ago, but we haven't been able to get to it.
Changing the journal entry name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
we
journal
could.
entry name.
Yeah, we could do something for that. Yeah, that one's kind of interesting, but yeah, we could do it. We have technically the ability to do that, but only if it hits the register edit can technically do that,
Yeah,
but only if it hits a balance sheet account. So it's kind of like it would be good to have one for
yeah. And I want to show you one more thing, Mark. This is some context when you work on vendor names. One of the things that people ask for a lot is when you are actually in the editing page in here, they have this thing where you swap between. So for example, let's say you have a vendor name called Cien Montaditos, and for whatever reason somebody put in like the owner's name of the company, so like let's say John um, Garcia. Okay, so there's a little drop down menu that lets you choose whether or not you pick the company name or you pick the existing name that's in there, and also the last name comma first name. So I wonder if this drop down menu is accessible to us, or this is just a tool that QuickBooks changes the display name based on what they're seeing here. So that could be interesting to see if we can access this, because there's a
I can't
difference
imagine it'd
between.
be difficult one way or the other.
Yeah, because there will be a difference between us having to type in the vendor name versus us already using a vendor name that's already in there and just swapping the option. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I get it.
Okay, so that one on the vendor side, and on the customer side, we have a similar situation. So I'll just show you that really quick also. This is on the customers. Okay, it's a similar situation on the customer, where when you edit the customer, you can also swap. Okay, I have to have multiple names here. So Carlos G, for example. So if you have a company name, let's say what company was this? 7-Eleven. Okay, so when you have a first name and a company name, we also have a way to swap. Okay, so again, it's the difference between batch editing the customer by you telling it what you want, or making the swap. Okay, so that's something we're gonna add that to our queue, because this it seemed to be some of the things that people were suggesting. Do you want to add anything on the stuff that you're reading on the live chat, Mark, before we go on the next thing?
Nothing super important, and we don't have to cover it, but the person who asked about changing like the income and cost of goods sold account on like inventory. Now, admittedly, I don't know about the cost of goods sold part. But we do have a feature for that. It's just different from the batch editing from reports. That is just when you go to the product and service list, which like the actual product and service page in QuickBooks. We have a feature for that. And if you email me, I can put that in the chat below. I'll send you the video for it after we're done here.
So, do we have something to change the accounts on items themselves?
Yeah. Okay, fine. Do it.
No, we,
Just
we
go to.
don't. No, I don't see it. I see change the class and products and services, but I don't see change the
It's
account.
because this is a feature that was predating the batch edit from reports feature. So
Ah,
it
okay.
is actually not a report, but it is from the actual product and service page.
Okay, let me see. So it would be change account on right here, batch change products in products and services. Okay, so let me turn that on. So batch change products and cost. So I
It might be
think
in a different
okay,
page.
but it's not it's called batch change products in batch pro. So it's not in that list because it doesn't come from a report,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. So let's go into our products and services. And did you keep in mind that there's two versions of the products and services page?
Yes.
Okay.
It
Uh,
should work regardless, but you can
it should work
see,
more. Yeah, right here. Batch change accounts.
yeah. And you have to
So,
select the accounts you want to change first, admittedly, but
right. Yeah. So we pick a couple products here. So we'll pick all these NI products and then click on batch change accounts. And then, we could change the sales account. Let's do inventory sales, and the purchases could be, cost of goods sold, whatever, right? So you can just pick your sales account. And then there's also a change historical, whether
yeah.
or not you want this change to also trigger the option in QuickBooks to go back to every single transaction where QuickBooks use that item and go back in time and change every single transaction going backwards. Now, very important, we cannot put a backstop to this. We can't say, oh yeah, only do 2026 and like don't touch 2025, because QuickBooks doesn't have that backstop. So the changing historical is all or none. And that's just a problem that we have because QuickBooks doesn't give me the option to do
Yeah.
that. So because this is not a RightTool feature per se, this is us enabling the default QuickBooks feature.
Yeah. And one other thing to put on top of that, if you have closed books, because it goes all the way back in time, you have to unclose your books before you can change historical. If you can change the sales account without, or you can change the accounts without changing historical, with the books closed. But if you have the books closed, you have to unclose them to change the historical. It's
Right.
just again how QuickBooks has we're taking advantage of a QuickBooks already existing thing. Uh, Now, if you want to change the date, again, we do have that batch edit from report feature that lets you change accounts, even if without changing the item that is underneath it or above it, I guess, really. So you can technically use that. It's just that it's a little bit more, you have to actually select what you want to change as opposed to here where it's just like, oh yeah, you just do it and it goes.
Yeah.
So
And
there's a
then
little bit of a difference.
I'm going to answer two questions. One is, what is the point of changing the account on an item without the historical change? Well, the point would be to only affect transactions moving forward. Okay, that's
Yeah.
simple. The other part of the question that kind of is here is, well, what if I want to change every account that a particular item has had, but only, let's say, for last year? Okay, so then what you would choose is you would choose this option here called change accounts on line items on transactions, works with items accounts as well. So you would go to that, and then you would, through the report, so this is the kind of the value of the report, because you're not editing the item itself. You're picking, the particular period in which you want to go back and edit the transactions in which that particular item was product or service was used. So
Yeah.
then I
And you
can
can
use
also filter for it on that. I'm
right.
gonna use the restroom real quick.
I would pick the particular product or service that I want to edit historically, or I can grab a couple. So I would grab a couple of these. And Mark, okay, well, Mark's in the bathroom. But if you watch the recording, um, I would like to see a shift click in this thing. This thing drives me crazy that there's no shift click, and I have to, like a monkey, click on all these things like a maniac. Okay. So we definitely need a shift click in there. But anyway, so you go into your report, you pick the particular period in which you want to only affect the transactions on that period. You filter by the particular items or products that you don't like the account that is using. Because I say, for example, all these are supposed to go to inventory sales, for example. And a lot of these are not going to inventory sales, so it's a problem. So then you go into batch here, and then you pick inventory sales, whatever the account is, pick all the transactions because I've already filtered them in the report. And that's kind of the value of using the reports first, that you can kind of do a filter first, click on run batch, and then editing the underlying item on each of the underlying account of each of those items each of those transactions that contain that item without necessarily having to edit the specific one. And if there's a challenge, one doesn't let you change it for whatever reason, that you would kind of see it at the end. Okay. So
Oh
again,
yeah.
it only affects the transactions that are visible in the report. Okay. And only you can only truthfully use the batching feature that we created as long as you start from the underlying report that we designed. Okay. Because we added that function in a particular underlying report. So if you see a batch a button show up in any report without you going through the process of batch editing, then you won't even know what this is until you click on it, so you can actually see what it does, right? Because some reports may look similar to a report that we used, and then RightTool wouldn't recognize that you weren't trying to batch edit, so you might see that batch button there, even though you didn't mean to kind of actually see the batch button. Okay, all right. So that's us doing a deep dive on that existing feature, and we haven't even covered everything that it can do, but we covered enough to give you a general idea of what's available in there so you can test it. Okay. Major change that we did: auto close pop-ups used to be a free feature that was defaulted on. We shifted it now to a pro feature under Experiments Pro, and we have defaulted it off. The specific problem that we had is inadvertently, when the pop-up blocker was on, it wasn't allowing some people to make a switch between QuickBooks Online Accountant to Intuit Enterprise Suite, because we didn't know, but one of the properties of that pop-up that allows you to make the switch, we recognized it as a pop-up, and we were out of killing that. And technical support was going crazy trying to figure out why some accountants were having a tough time making the swap from QuickBooks Online Accountant to this. And somebody from Intuit called me and said, "Hey, are you doing this on purpose?" We said, "Absolutely not. I apologize." So in order to mitigate the challenge, is we tucked it into Experiments Pro and we defaulted it off. So if you're missing your pop-up blocker for useful reasons, not that particular reason, just go back to Experiments Pro and turn it on. So once again, we go into our RightTool settings, go down to Experiments Pro, and there should be our auto close pop-ups, and that should be there available for you. Another thing you're going to see is we have a new category called Modern Reports Pro. And what we have done, and that's the kind of a little bit of the context that we were trying to create here. So what we have done here is, let me go into Modern Reports Pro, is any features that we develop, new features that we develop, or old features that only used to work in the classic reports that we're trying now to make work in the modern reports. So we're sort of catching up with all the changes that QuickBooks are doing. They're only going to be under Pro. And the reason for that is because QuickBooks has become a major pain in the butt for us to maintain our features, because QuickBooks keeps making changes. And the modern reports movement has been very, very fast moving. And we have to, put our Pro paid features into all of our modern reports. So what's going to happen is all the features that work in classic reports will continue working inside classic reports until Intuit makes a change or they kill the reports. And eventually, at some point, once classic reports don't exist anymore, this feature will be killed completely. And then everything that related to reports, you're going to see in this modern reports Pro section, you're going to see a whole bunch of features. They're all going to be ported over, and they're only going to be supported for Pro users. So that's an important change that's coming. And we teased this 2 years ago, letting people know that with the new banking and the new reports, that those features are only going to be in Pro. Okay.
Gratefully, QuickBooks has just been slow to change things over to modern reports.
Yeah, well, it's been, to be fair, a lot of accountants complain about how quick QuickBooks is making changes. They're actually not being quick at all. They said 2 years ago that they were going to kill classic reports and go to modern, and we're still in a hybrid system. So they're going pretty slow. The problem with QuickBooks is they'll go super slow until they go super fast. Like, what the hell just happened? And then they go slow again. So it's like, it's hard for us to like catch the timing because we never want a right tool feature not to work for you guys, you know, obviously. But it isn't until it's broken where they make a change where people actually report it that we can't catch up because we have to have it live. You know, we have to have the live change in there for us to develop. So we're always catching up or trying to catch up. Okay. New feature. Okay. So when you go and actually, let me make sure I turn it on. So
So it's
under,
turned off by default.
yeah, off by default, under tab management, it's called Advanced Search Enhanced Drill Down. It's the very last one in there that you should see in there. You turn that on. And then what happens is when you do any sort of advanced search, so when you go into the search screen and you do any sort of advanced search, one of the things that frustrates or frustrated some people is that when you are doing a lot of filters in the advanced search, and then you click on a transaction, that the transaction would open, but then when you go back, you either lost your place in line, or the search results would you will lose them. They would like reset. So what we've done is basically, if you click on any transaction that you see in here, it opens up in a new tab. That's simple. Like, so it's like sometimes, you know, the simplest solutions are like the easiest solutions. So all you're doing is you're in the search screen, and in order not to lose your place or your filters, you just click on the transaction and it opens up in a new tab. So then when you're done using that transaction, you click on save and close. And one thing that we haven't done, Mark, is to put a tag on that so it auto closes.
Yeah, fair enough. It wouldn't be hard to do.
Yeah, so because it'll default to the home page, so that we have a different tab for the full search. So that's something we just have to fix, that a save and close will auto close that, because we already have that working for our enhanced report drill down. And it looks like a lot of people are saying yes and that they love this. So Mark, good job. It looks like a lot of people like that, and that's on the free edition, by the way. So that's on the that's a free feature. It's built in there. Generally, if it's something with a new tab, that's going to be a free feature. Okay. Kate says, can I ask a subscription question here, or who should I message for support? You can email mark@monkbee.com, or you can ask it here and he can answer live. Okay.
Probably better to ask me at the email. I put an email, technically a different email in, just because I'm trying to be better about converting over to our actual RightTool email.
Yes, true. Yeah, so mark@righttoolpro.com if you have any specific questions.
Yeah, I'm happy to help with that.
Let's do new pro features. So we actually have quite a bit. Mark, I'm going to do you the honors because you worked on this so hard. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to have you showcase all of our new pro features.
Oh, fair enough. Sending a request so I can share.
There you go.
Thank you. And let's see here. Is the screen two? Okay. Since it is the first thing showing up inside of the page, I am going to go first with the memo and description updating tool, even though I think that's the bigger thing. So we're going to go in here to RightTool options. And this is currently an Experiments Pro because of the fact that I did not have enough time to test this before today, to make it so that I can test all use cases, to be clear. But it does work, to be clear. There is a new thing in here called Memo and Description Updating Tool. Once you have that turned on, if you go into any kind of report that's a summary report, and then you click into a drill down of any kind. So let's say I drill into parent sales 2, and let's see if it'll actually drill down because I opened this page up a while ago. Okay, we're good. Once this page is loaded in, you can see inside of here, I should have actually removed a lot of these descriptions from the get-go just to make it easier to show what's going on here. But you'll now see a button at the top right of the page on this drill down that says change memos/descriptions. If I click on that, it'll basically show me the details of every transaction line that's currently showing inside of this report. And you can either select all of them, or you can select like just very specific ones. So I'm just going to select these 3 or something like that. And you're going to click update. This is going to take you to a new page to review the actual transactions. It's going to be one transaction at a time for reviewing it. so that you can see all of the line details of the entire transaction. Just had to do it that way because of the way that reports technically work with everything, and able to in order to like match things up correctly. So for instance, this transaction only has one line, and it'll show you the line description, the transaction memo, and the bank text at the same time. And from there, you can say, okay, well, I want to have, let's say, this transaction memo, I want it to actually be part of the line description. So what I'm going to select is this one that says the green to blue, essentially. And I can say I want to either append it, prepend it, or replace the current data. Just to make this easier to see the difference of, I'm going to click replace current data and press next. And so it's going to do that, and then it's going to just head to the next transaction that you had selected inside of here. Um, so now I'm inside of here. Now these are all the same, so it's not really going to work because we have it set up so that if like bank text already exists or like the transact if something already exists inside of wherever you're moving into, it's gonna skip over doing that. Hopefully that makes sense. Uh, so yes, this one won't really do anything, but I can click next, and you can also skip over one if you want. And you can just kind of do this for each transaction. If you're like, I don't care about making sure I have specific lines, like for instance, I could come over here and be like, I want to change all the line descriptions to the transaction memo or something like that, but you don't want to do all the lines, you can select the check boxes to say which lines you want to change. But if you are fine with everything just being changed all at the same time for all these transactions to all wherever you want to go, then you can click apply to all remaining transactions, and it will go through each one and just kind of update everything for you. So you still have a batch option. You don't have to do it one by one, but this just gives you like the option of either being really detailed about it or being very broad with it. Hopefully that makes sense. Admittedly, a lot of fun little challenges that occurred while making this particular feature. But we've heard a lot of people talking about needing to either bring the bank text into the lines or something to that extent. So we're really hoping to get that one out for you.
Can you exit out of that, do a
Yeah.
different drill down, and do it over, and just kind of explain it a little bit quicker so people can kind of see the flow one more time, like without so much context.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's see here. Is there a good one that I want to use here? There are too many things. I don't want to necessarily play with a payroll thing, even though we don't actually have payroll in here.
Just grab anything. That payroll one should work. It doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
anything should work.
Yeah, let's do this then.
And I'm monitoring the live chat for suggestions on this.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Okay, so let's say we are inside of here and we just want to change all the memos on or all the line item descriptions on all of these. I'm going to click on this checkbox to just update all of them. Inside of here, everything already has the
Not a great example. But did you only pick one transaction? Why is only one showing?
because of the fact that it shows one transaction
As an
at a
example.
time.
As an
Yeah,
example. Okay.
yeah.
X out of that. Let's
Well,
actually,
I can
yeah,
show
let's
this.
go.
There is technically a difference here. So, for instance, this transaction memo is different from this line description.
Let's do, if you don't mind, let's close that up. I want people to kind of see the exact work. Grab the first transaction. Oh, that same report.
Oh,
That same
that
report
same
tab.
report. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, and then let's do the same example that you and I did when we were brainstorming this. That way, people go, "Oh, okay, I see 100." Because it's hard. It's hard for people to contextualize this if they're not looking at their data.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fair.
So like that's always hard. So grab one transaction in there, and then we'll specifically change the data that's in there, so people can go, oh, okay, I see exactly the flow of data that's going, because we have all the colors, we have a lot of moving parts. So on the description, just replace that with line description.
Let's see here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just
So
put their line
line
description,
description.
and then go down to the box, yeah, and then put in there transaction memo.
the bank text.
Okay, that's fine. So then we'll click on save. And then we could just do that one. So we have, so essentially we have, if we refresh the report really quick.
Well, and the cool thing is you don't technically have to refresh the report because it will get the data separately,
Okay.
technically speaking.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're showing three pieces of information here, right? Remember the report is only going to show the line description. Like X out of that so people can see the report. Just X out of that.
Yeah.
And refresh the report. So the context is the report is limited at the moment to the line description. But let's say for that one transaction, you need a different piece of information in the report so you can interact with it in your reclassified screens, in your custom reports, whichever context in which you're going to need a different piece of information in those reports. Now let's go to change memo descriptions. Okay.
And we'll just update this one.
Yeah. And then we have contextually three pieces of information, and they have the three colors are really meant for then you to understand in which direction you want to do this, right? So right now we only have copy one of them. So right now, like we can copy the bank text, the stuff that actually came from the bank. We can copy to either the line description or to both. And we can choose whether it's at the beginning or at the end. So this is a great example where we would do like a prepend. So you still maintain whatever data whatever piece of information you put in there that you thought was valuable, you still maintain that, but then you bring in the original bank text, which is probably what you need for the context of the reports. So then we can click on either next or apply to all remaining transactions.
Yeah. And technically, it's the only one we selected, but we'll do that. And you'll see once we report this that, and admittedly, it's a long thing, so it kind of shows up, but you can see that whole bank text got pre-pinned to this, and you still have that original line description in there.
Exactly. And if you click on that, you're going to see that the bank memo got pre-pinned. So a lot of people were asking, like the specific thing that people were asking in the Facebook group is, how can I go back and fix a bunch of transactions that were entered through bank feeds where people didn't put anything in the memo? So I get to see nothing in the memo, but the bank feed data is hidden somewhere in the transaction. And I kind of want to bring that back.
Yeah. And again, a part of the reason I like this is because of the fact that in QuickBooks, sometimes you can't see the memo. You can only see the description, or vice versa. You can only see one or the other. So it's just really nice to have an option to make it so you can actually see the information you want inside of the report.
Exactly. Now there's a couple of suggestions here. So one suggestion is go back into that screen.
Yeah.
Is what I think people want to see is once you click on the option on select copy direction, is preview it. Like show me a preview of what it's going to look like.
Yeah. I mean, we could. I'd have to see how that looks, but yeah, no, we could probably do something.
Yeah, and I think the preview would just happen live as you click on these different things. I think they should be able to do that. The other thing that I think I want to have, Mark, is I want to have a field right under operation mode, have a field called additional append for me to write any text I want, right? So if on top of that, I want to add reviewed by Hector or fixed by Hector or put a date or modify it on XYZ. So just right under operation mode, something that says append additional text. That way we can also batch enter any data that we want in there. So
we'll have to think about how that would look. I mean, to be clear, doing additional text, I think is an absolutely thing we should do. I'm just saying we're gonna have to think about like what we want that to look like in the context of here, or if we just need to rearrange what some of the stuff looks like.
No, you're under operation mode. Just have a little checkbox that says append extra memo.
Okay, like an extra thing.
Yeah, it's just extra. Like it wouldn't. Yeah, it would be append extra. And the other thing that I see potentially valuable is, what was it? I think it was something. So we can go from bank text to both, from line to text memo to line. No, I'm not missing anything. I thought I was missing something for some reason, but no, we're good. We're good to go. Okay, so that's good.
And one thing that I want to kind of, admittedly, my bad for not having more of a prepared thing to demo on this. Uh, I know one specific feature or one specific transaction that I can do a little bit of a better demo for here. Um, so I'm just going to change this around real quick. Everything we've
Okay.
seen so far is a one-line transaction.
The
Uh,
logic question is what happens if in that report you're seeing multiple lines, right? What's going to happen with the box memo? Really, that's really the transaction memo, not so much the line memo.
yeah. So just something to keep in mind. This
And
is
for those that have
awesome.
a hard out at 1 p.m. Eastern, we're gonna go maybe another 20 minutes long. So
Yeah.
we're not gonna cut it short. Right? We want to cover all these things in detail.
Yeah. So if I save this, and then now I'm just going to come back over here and change this. Let's just go here. So this is what it looks like if you have multiple lines on a transaction. So admittedly, again, my bad for having less of a good exploratory transaction to do for this.
Yeah, yeah,
But the reason that like the preview is kind of interesting is because once you get to this spot right here, if you have multiple lines, it can be kind of interesting to figure it.
yeah. Okay, I have a new feature request here, Mark. So maybe in this screen right there where it says review transactions in the top, can you put in parentheses the transaction ID number and a link where if I click on that in a new tab, I can see the transaction because it could be useful for someone to, okay, you know what? Let me look at the transaction really quick so I can know exactly what's going on. And the
Yeah,
other thing that could be useful is you're not showing the dollar amount here.
not in this one, no.
Yeah, so I think showing the dollar amount here would also be would be helpful. It would be contextual.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Need
Okay.
to have this written down somewhere.
We're recording it.
Yeah, fair enough.
We'll have our AI tool come up with like kind of skip out all the fluff and then just focus on the suggestions.
Yeah.
Okay, next
So,
one. Let's go to link to open accompanying P&L and balance sheet, a new tab.
okay, I'm going to remember. Okay, let's see here. Okay, yeah, leak to open accompanying. Yeah. So this is a new thing. If you go into a profit and loss, and it does have to be a modern report version of it because we are trying to be better about accepting modern reports. Uh, I'm working on it. It's one of my goals for 2026. Uh, so now when you are inside of QuickBooks and you're inside of a modern report for either the profit and loss or balance sheet, you'll now see red text that pops up at the top of the report here that says like open balance sheet or open profit and loss. Now the cool thing about that is, and I'm just going to pick a random report period here just to prove the point, is that now once you click on this, it will open up a balance sheet for you, and it will, assuming that QuickBooks or that we are not doing something dumb, which is possible. Uh, so what it should do is when you click on that link, it will open up a opposite report basically that has the same dates and everything selected. Uh, I'm gonna check in to make sure that's not just some kind of weird glitch. And here you
So,
can see now it just like instead of us having to go into finding the profit or the profit and loss from the balance sheet or vice versa, now it's just an easy click of a button to get into the balance sheet.
yeah, this is a feature that's uber simplified, really, because it's like really like how is this such a big feature? But I'm telling you, I find myself so many times looking at a P&L and then needing a balance sheet. I don't want to go like to a bunch of different places to find it. Like I just find myself almost always saying, I need to see the accompanying balance sheet. I need to see the accompanying P&L, and I want the exact same reporting period to batch because that really is the secret sauce in this. I think is valuable is for it to grab the same reporting period. Right, that is the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly. Fun little fact, you switch to classic view, it will show you the prior year, prior period stuff. which is kind of an interesting quirk of figuring out why it does it when you switch back to classic view and then back to modern report. But again, that's part of the fun
Right.
of QuickBooks is figuring out why it has weird quirks where it has weird quirks.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
agree. I'm a big fan of pulling up the previous period in the balance sheet.
yeah,
So we at some point we should probably focus on trying to figure that part out.
yeah,
Okay, so while we're in reports, modern reports, let's pull up a P&L by class and talk about the feature called hide columns in modern reports.
yeah. Now this one's I'm relatively happy with how it came out. This is actually a existing thing from classic reports, but we have finally figured out a way to move it into the modern ones, so we're very happy about that. So what happens is if you go to a profit and loss by class or location or anything that has columns, basically, um, then you can come over here to this area right here that says report actions, and you'll see that you have three for for the purpose of the feature we're first showing off here, which is hide columns in modern reports. There are three options here. So there's collapse subcolumns, there's collapse sub-subcolumns, and then there's hide the total four columns. Uh, the hide total four columns, pretty simple. If you ever see something that says total four, we just hide it so you don't have to uh, see that. The other ones, collapse subcolumns, is basically like inside of here, you can see there's this total for commercial, and then there are one, two, three, four subcolumn or subclasses inside of that. And so if I collapse subcolumns, you'll now see it shows up like this. Now, be aware, it can kind of be weird if you scroll to the right, because it's modern reports and there's not much we can do about that. I had to choose one devil or the other when it came to that one. So I was like, this is just the way it's going to be, unfortunately. But that is a thing that you now have inside of there. You can click it again to undo it. And then here's what you do if you say hide total four columns. Again, kind of just a nice little thing that cleans up. And then finally, this is actually, I'm going to talk about the next feature at the same time, export modern reports to CSV. Uh, QuickBooks already
By the way,
has,
Mark, I don't think these two should be separate features.
you don't think so?
I think the reason why it was separate features is because at some point on classic reports, we were gonna make exporting CSV free and the hide columns pro. So that's why we had separated them. But I
That's
think
fair.
that everything inside the reports action should be just one toggle. Like there should be no reason to have them separate.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I can definitely change that.
And for those
Um,
that are wondering why are we like talking about this, is because like this was literally put in place a couple of days ago, and like Mark and I are showing to you this immediately as it's being released. So we're
yeah,
also thinking through how we want to improve this feature and taking live feedback from you guys.
yeah. And so yeah, the export report to CSV is just our way of making it so that when you have the columns closed in like this, if you export with QuickBooks, and I'll just show what that kind of looks like. I'm just going to export as a CSV with QuickBooks and see how long that takes. So I'm
Yeah,
just
so
going to open this up.
the QuickBooks CSV comes in before we do our collapse. It's the original
Yeah,
data that QuickBooks gives you.
here you can see exactly, it has every column. And I'm just going to move this off to the side and I'm going to close this. Don't save. But if I do the export report to CSV using the RightTool thing, admittedly, it takes a little bit longer because we have to literally scroll through the report to get all the data. Um, but I'm going to open this up and I'll put them side by side just so you can see. Like, yes, I'm not lying. It has a different look here. So here and
Yeah, and the
here.
reason why this exists is because when you print the report or create a PDF of the report, that's using a backend engine that QuickBooks generates from the backend. So it's not based on what you're seeing on the screen, it's based on what it creates from the original data. So we have no way to print the collapse columns report. So the closest thing to have that is the CSV export.
Yeah, exactly. So that way you can actually get what you see in the screen once you have RightTool helping out with all that stuff. Um, Somebody asked, there's a thing from Classic Reports that I would love to have added into here, but it's just a little bit weird. Actually, there's two things. One, the collapse rows feature, which is like basically clicking on these sub accounts. Somebody mentioned that, like being able to like hide the sub accounts.
It'll be worth to show
Uh,
the one that QuickBooks does have. So hidden under
yes,
compact 100%.
there is a thing to collapse, which does make things a little bit cleaner for sure.
Yeah, you know what I would love to see, Mark? Even though could we that same built-in feature that QuickBooks has to collapse? Because a lot of people, like, it's hard for people to discover this under the compact 100%. Could we just for now add the built-in QuickBooks feature into report actions? So we at least have, so people see it and they see it in there. And then later on, as we can do our cycle where we go like layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, because that's what that works on the classic reports now, where you keep clicking and it just keeps swapping across, opening just one layer and then second layer and the third layer. So
Yeah.
could we add that for now? That way, for discoverability, people know where to find it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'm really going to depend on that AI overview once we get done with this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, we're not writing
Because
things
I
down.
am doing a terrible job of keeping track of what I've written down or not. But yes, we're very happy about the fact that we were able to get this done, even with the somewhat interesting challenges of modern reports for what we were trying to do. Uh, so we're very happy with how everything, or I'm very happy with it. Uh,
Okay, I'm gonna take over the screen share and talk
yeah.
about the last kind of bonus piece. First I ran a quick polling question just to ask you, out of all the things that we've shown today, the new things, which has been your favorite, right? So we talked about the existing batch edit reports feature. We talked about the new open a new tab from the advanced search screen. We talked about the updating memos and descriptions tool. These are all active, but all these tools are active, up and running. We talk about doing the quick swap between the P&L and the balance sheet with the accompanying report, and then hiding the columns in the modern reports and exporting to CSV, which should probably be one toggle. So go ahead and answer that while I answer this question. Okay, so this is going to take probably a good 20 minutes, okay? Just because it's just a lot of moving parts. But the question we have from the community is there a way to clean up accounts receivable? I have a lot of credits, meaning there was a lot of received payment that was used, but there's no invoices. And some of the invoices are being paid with journal entries. There's an adjustments. Is there a way to clean up my AR, and I want to clear it at the customer level? Is there a bulk way to do this with RightTool? So the quick answer is no, we don't have a bulk way of doing this. While I show this, and Mark, do you have a hard out or you'll be able to watch this whole thing?
I'm able to watch it.
Okay, so while I show this, there's actually a RightTool feature request for you. Once you watch the logic, you're going to see, okay, this should be super easy because we have something similar with the allocation tool. So that's the framing of the question. So I'm going to go into QuickBooks here. I'm going to swap to a different company file. I have a company file, I think, ready to go for this. So let's pull that up so I can show you the context of the AR cleaning that we want to do. Okay, and to Jill, thank you for the question. And this is me fulfilling my promise of saying I'll make a video about this because I could cut this and put this in YouTube separately. Okay, so I'm gonna go to a company file that has a whole bunch of data in accounts receivable. Okay, so there's multiple ways to pull accounts receivable data. The easiest one normally is to go into a balance sheet. Okay, just pull up a regular balance sheet and then go to last fiscal year. Okay, and then you see whatever's on accounts receivable. It's 4,311.72. So write that down somewhere, so you can kind of keep track. So we got 4,311.72 in accounts receivable. Now, if I were to click on that, I'm going to get a whole bunch of history that might not be useful. So it doesn't specifically tell me which transactions have open balances. And one thing that drives me crazy is that QuickBooks Online doesn't have a default way of me just showing open balance on transactions. It drives me nuts because QuickBooks Desktop has had this for years. But anyway, I'll get get off my high horse on that. So the way we see some sort of detail on this is we're going to go into a report called AR aging. So we're going to go to an AR aging detail report. So we'll go to AR aging detail report, pull that up. The only thing that makes me uncomfortable about this report is that it's grouped by aging time, which is kind of a little bit annoying. Okay, because it's by 90 days and current, but that's fine. We can clean that up fairly quickly. I'm going to do last year, and what I want to show you is there's the same 4,311. Some of these payments have open balances, so that's kind of the example that she gave. That we have a whole bunch of payments that don't have accompanying invoices, so to speak. And I also have, or I may have, invoices as well. So I have a combination of invoices and payments that are causing problems with open balances. I could also have a journal entry. So I'll go ahead and add that. So I could also have a journal entry that's affecting that too. So we'll create a journal entry here. We'll do accounts receivable. We'll pick a client here at random. So we'll pick this client, and let's say this is 52,000, and let's put that under sales. Okay. So it really doesn't matter whether it's debit or credit, whatever. It's just something sitting in my accounts receivable that essentially is affecting my AR, right? So it could be a journal entry, it could be a payment, it could be a credit memo, it could be an invoice. It doesn't matter. Any transaction that affects accounts receivable that doesn't have an underlying sort of matching transaction is just sitting there, and it's making my accounts receivable very ugly and very nasty. Again, I'll go back to my balance sheet one more time. And now I'm going to go to last year and see what my accounts receivable says. So my accounts receivable is negative 47,688.28. Okay, so here comes how to clean this up. Okay, so let's assume that my accounts receivable is supposed to be zero. Okay, so most people know, oh, I'll just do a journal entry. I'll go in there and put, debit 47,688.28, credit sales or whatever it is, and I get rid of my accounts receivable. The problem is it's not by customer. So you still go back to your customer balance summary or something like that. A customer balance summary, or you look at the, where's my customer balance summary? If you go to customer balance summary or your accounts receivable aging report, there's still going to be a whole bunch of customers with open balances. And essentially what I want to do is I want to clean that up. So instead of doing one single journal entry to clean up that negative accounts receivable, I'm going to do a more detailed journal entry so I can apply every one of those open balances to this adjusting journal entry. Now, one other thing I want to show you is anytime you have a report that's a balance report, there's actually an option here called aging, and the aging allows you to swap between current and report date. So what's tricky about this is that when I look at a customer balance summary or an open invoice report, is you actually only see the open balances for invoices that are open even today. That are open even today, and if they've been paid past the report date, they disappear. So if you want to see the actual receivables up to that report date that matches the balance sheet, you have to swap that aging from current to report date. So that's a really tricky little nuance when it comes to looking at accounts receivable and matching a detailed report of accounts receivable to your balance sheet. So just make sure that when you're in a detailed report, you're looking at this. Now, this is a very bad report to work from because we have nested customers with the projects and sub-customers, and that makes it very difficult to do a journal entry by customer. So we're actually going to go back to the report that I originally showed, which is the aging detail report. So let's go to the aging detail report. So we're going to pull up our AR aging detail report. Okay, that's the report that we're going to be basing it from. Okay, so we're going to start with AR aging detail report. I'm going to do here last year. And Mark, this is where the RightTool feature request comes from, is converting what we're seeing on this screen into a journal entry. Okay, so just like the allocation tool where we see something in the screen, it's like, okay, I need to convert this now into a journal entry. Okay, so the way we're going to convert this into a journal entry is first I'm going to export this into a CSV. So export to CSV. Okay, I'm going to open this in CSV. And then you kind of have to know what a journal entry in QuickBooks looks like. Now, you're welcome if you're watching this live on your other screen, open a journal entry and kind of see what that looks like. I'm going to now convert this into something that looks like a journal entry. Okay. So I'm going to start here sort of blank here on the side. So I know that I need account. I know that I need debit. I know I need credit. And I know I need description. And I know I need a customer. Okay. So I know that a journal entry looks like that. If you kind of want to have proof of that, I'll just go in here and pull a journal entry and use that as my baseline. So we got account, debit, credit, description, name. I just happen to know by heart what every QuickBooks screen looks like. That's a me problem that I have to fix with my therapist. Okay. So now I'm going to convert that into that. So account is not here. So that I have to know. So I have to know what my accounts receivable account looks like. So in QuickBooks, you may have some people that modified the way their accounts receivable looks like. Mine happens to be called exactly 11,000 accounts receivable. Many people may have the same thing. And then we're just going to click and drag that in it. So this is the part where, again, this is the part that I think I want RightTool to automate this, building this journal entry for me. Because I'm going to delete the rows that I don't need. The rows are essentially garbage. Okay. I don't need any of this crap here. So I'll just delete all that. Okay. Then to my debit and my credit. So this is going to be a standard Excel formula. So I do if, okay. And then in this case, a payment is a credit balance. So in order to fix it, I need to put it into debit. So I put if this number is less than 0, then give me the negative version of this number. Otherwise, give me 0. I'm going to pause for a second for the Excel nerds to take a picture of this, okay? To take a screenshot, to go, what the hell's going on here? And start like processing exactly what's happening here. This is something that I knew from my Excel days, and you just have to know how to convert a negative or positive to a debit or a credit. So I press enter, and then I click and drag that down. Boom. And then I do the same thing on the other side. So I do if this number is a positive number, so it's more than 0, then give me that number. I don't need the negative version of that because the number is already positive. Otherwise, give me a 0. And again, I'll pause so the Excel nerds can take their screenshots and high five each other, when they're watching these formulas. And then we're going to click and drag that down. So now we have essentially what my adjusting journal entry looks like to clean up my accounts receivable. Here under customer, I'm just going to copy this from the customer name. And again, I picked the AR aging detail because whenever I have a project, the customer name comes with the full customer, sub-customer, or customer project path that includes the column because I need that for that. Now for description, you can leave that blank, or you can do something fun like, I want to do things fun. So I can do something like equals, quote, adjusting, space, equals, and %. And then I select the transaction type. Okay. Then I'm going to do and, space, and I'm going to type dated, colon, space, quote, %, pick the date. Okay. Then I'm going to do %, space, and I'll put the transaction number if there's such a transaction number. Okay. And then I'm going to do quote, %, quote, space, and then the transaction type. Oh, actually, we already got the transaction type in there. Okay, that's good enough. Okay. So I think that's good enough. So I'll just finish that. Press enter. So now it says adjust payment dated. And one of the challenges is, where do you get D6 from? Hold on a second. That's supposed to be like this. Okay. What was D6? Was that transaction number? Yeah. So I'm going to fix this real quick and be number %, and then this. Okay. I just have to fix the date now. Now this is another super nerdy QuickBooks formula to change the date. So this is called text. And then the value in this case is the date, because QuickBooks will always default. I mean, Excel will always default to the number, and then comma, and then I have to do, I believe is mm hyphen dd hyphen YYY. Okay, and I close that in quotes. Okay, I am going to copy and paste this formula into the our live, hold on, there's something here. I'm going to copy and paste this formula into our live chat, right, to give some context. What did I do here? So we got boom and text.
Oh, you didn't close the parentheses on text.
I did not close the parentheses on text. You're right. Okay. There you go. Boom. Okay. So then I click and drag that down. And again, this is what I want RightTool to fix, right? It's basically going to say adjusting payment date this, number this, right? So basically it's grabbing all the context from the transaction and putting it in the journal entry description. So it's kind of very easy to follow. Okay. So that's kind of what we're trying to achieve there. And then now that we've done this, now all I have to do now is just create a journal entry. Okay. So I got all the components that I need for a journal entry to help me adjust. So let's go ahead and create a new journal entry here. So I'll clear whatever's in here. We'll date this journal entry the end of the year because we're making a year-end adjustment. Okay, and then I use my trusty paste tool that RightTool gives me.
I think you turned it off.
Okay, it's off right now. Now QuickBooks did, let's say, get inspired by RightTool and created their own pasting tool, but classic QuickBooks, it just doesn't work. Okay, it kind of works, sort of kind of works. Classic QuickBooks, can't trust them. So we're going to use the RightTool paste tool. So we're going to go into Batch Pro and click on Copy Excel to Transactions. Admittedly, that's still a confusing name for that feature. Okay, so we're going to go into the Paste Excel feature. Okay, and then we're going to paste our tool. So like the most painful piece of this is building the journal entry. And by the way, good thing that this happened, these projects might be inactive. So if you try to paste into something that has an inactive project, that's not going to work. So I'll step out for a second and fix the projects that are inactive. So let's show all of our, forget how to show, is it canceled?
It might be in the gear icon or something like that.
Forgot if it's the inactive or the deleted. Oh, deleted projects. Yeah. Right? Delete, right. So it's the deleted projects. I gotta turn them back on. Gear, show deleted projects. Come on, QuickBooks.
It wants to fight you on that?
Yeah, it wants to fight me on it. Okay. Did I miss something here?
I don't know. Let's see. That is very odd.
I'm gonna refresh the screen. Yeah, this is just QuickBooks acting up. Let's try one more time. If you could show me the dang deleted projects. Show deleted projects.
Maybe, well, the problem is, I guess maybe they're completed, but I mean, that wouldn't make it so they wouldn't show up, right?
Right. Let's see. Let's show deleted projects. Well, okay, whatever.
I'm sure we're missing something very obvious here.
Yeah.
There is somebody who mentioned the C info based on payroll expenses. I don't know if that has any. I don't think that would do it, to be clear, but
no, that wouldn't do anything. Let's paste this again. Okay, and I will just pick the high level customer here. Okay, I'm telling you, the problem is these projects are showing as disabled and they're not letting me grab it, but I could do high level. Was that originally? Okay, yeah, no. So the projects deleted, and the filtering system in QuickBooks is not letting me undelete the project. That's the underlying issue. But that would be the same if you have a class or an account. Anything that's deleted, you can't use. So anyway, and that was a little anticlimactic. I apologize for that, but I can't. I don't know what the file looks like. So now we have our journal entry, and then I click on save. Let's just do this year end. Click on save.
Oh yeah, you're gonna need some kind of balancing.
Yep, I gotta do my sales at the end. Okay, balance that. That would have no detail, no customer needed. Adjust that. And then there's another moving part here, which is in QuickBooks, I'm going to go into settings. I'm going to go into accountant settings. And then in advanced, we're going to go into where it says automatically apply credits. So we're going to select, turn that on. Again, we did one journal entry with a whole bunch of details and what we're writing off. We're turning on automatic apply credits. And then we'll go back into QuickBooks. And then this is a weird one, okay? We're going to go into receive payments. Okay, and then we're going to pick each of the customers that are listed here. So I'm just going to like have it on the side so we know exactly what we have. Click and drag that a little bit. Okay. And this cannot be done in batch, unfortunately. That part you have to do one by one. So we go to Craven PAM, and then we select it. And because we have turned on to automatically apply the credits, it does the application of credits automatically, and I don't have to do anything else. I just do record and new because we have automatic, and then we go to Birch. And that's a part that you're going to have to figure out. See, this part is being adjusted automatically. So that's a part that you're going to have to figure out, Mark, if
to me, I mean, I was going to say, to be fair, as far as the automating part of it's concerned, I mean, depending on how much time you think how much time it would save people if I went all the way and just like said, we're going to do all of this.
the application. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
again, that's the part
then
I just not sure if you will even be able to do that. Okay. Let's go to Morganson.
it can be
Again.
done. It'll be annoying. It can be annoying, but it can be done. Mostly because of the fact that uh yeah, it can be done. Now,
Okay.
admittedly, creating the journal entry and then like pasting it in and then doing it is something that would be interesting because we don't generally like paste the journal entry in for people uh, on our side. Usually we just like paste it in and people can save it afterwards,
Yeah.
but could be interesting.
Okay. And then obviously we're gonna have a challenge with the jobs that are deleted. So those are the only ones that might not you will not be able to complete this for because some of the jobs are deleted, you can't use it. But that's kind of the part you go to receive payment, you're not receiving any dollar amount, you're using the application of payments. And then later on, when you do, let's go back into our balance sheet. So we'll pull up our balance sheet. Our balance sheet should show 0. Yep, accounts
Well,
receivable shows
close to
0.
zero. Oh yeah,
And
fair enough.
no, it's 0. It's 0. And then our one journal entry hopefully applied, to every project. If if you didn't have any projects, if you just had customers and no projects, it would apply to all of them. And then when you pull up your AR aging detail report, or let's say, for example, your customer balance detail report, and I'll pull up the customer balance in summary, and I'll do the condense. So we see that they all are going to be, if I go last fiscal year.
Now, Hector, something to keep in mind about this, if we wanted to do something like this, would it even be making sense for us to just have it be something where you're inside the customer balance summary page or something like that? It brings up a pop-up of some sort with the listing of things, and then you just check off which ones you want to have be closed out, and then we'll just make an individual journal entry that automatically matches, or maybe even a receipt payment that automatically matches just all of them, and then we don't have to
I
go through
think,
the journal entry
yeah. So
paste
like
part.
it would be like a write-off tool. Okay, that could work too. That could work because you think that if you create a separate journal entry, it's easier to match it.
More so that like I don't know. Is there a benefit would there be a benefit to writing doing something indirectly in the receive payment area, or do you think you need to do the journal entry first in order for
No,
it to
you
work
have to do the
correctly?
journal entry first because if you go to
Okay,
receive payment, you don't have the adjusting entry,
fair enough.
and it's done usually at a high level at the AR level, right? So like I said, this is an option to go back and again write off open AR one by one versus just doing one high level journal entry. It is complicated, but I mean, there's no other way to I just can't see any other way to do this.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, yeah, and then I mean, still making individual journal entries and then matching them up one by one might be easier to do from like uh from our perspective, from my perspective at least.
Yeah,
Uh, so it could be something worth doing for sure, but based basically on the idea that you sh kind of showed here. And that
yeah,
would be from the AR aging detail, right?
yeah, exactly. But AI agent
Or-
detail is the one that I'm picking because I'm doing an Excel process, and that's the only one that shows me the full path of customer
Gotcha.
sub customer.
I get that.
But the other one that could work too is the open invoice report. So open invoices, believe it or not, actually wrong one.
That actually makes sense. I was thinking open invoice might be the play on that because the reason I was thinking aging detail, and I keep putting emphasis on aging when I mean to be putting emphasis on detail, is the fact that then you can kind of have individual invoices showing up, which is kind of
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So it's individual
Uh,
invoices, journal entries, and open payment. So like it's called open invoice report, but it's really should be called open AR report.
yeah.
Okay. And the only ones that are showing here with a balance, but, I mean, they're being counter matched by their um by their uh, parent customer were those projects that we couldn't undelete for some reason. But so we can do either one, but whatever you think is easier. If the problem is that with this report, it doesn't default the customer name with the full path. I have to go into customize, then I have to go into columns, and then I have to look for
Well,
like customer name or something. I don't even know if that's even there. Full
one
name
of the
maybe.
benefits of the fact that modern reports are fine, they're fine. Is the fact that I'm gonna have to basically get the whole transaction anyways.
Right.
So not having the name, it might be problematic for people who are using the tool, but not super problematic from the
Yeah.
perspective of building something
So
with it at
so for
least.
now, just building a journal entry that I can write off everything in detail that I pick. So like exactly what you said, like you'll open up a report like this, you click write off adjustment entry. The pop-up shows me all the transactions. I pick which transactions I want to quote write off. And then you go out back and you pick the balancing account, the sales account, or the your bad debt account, whichever account you're going to use to counteract that. And you either do one big journal entry or a whole bunch of separate journal entries. If you can somehow in the process apply the payment to it, that would be incredible. Uh,
Yeah, I think, I mean, honest to God, if I was gonna do it, I'd do it specifically to try and apply the payment at the same time, just because of the fact that, yeah, I would want to have that being done.
yeah, and then have it pick up the date from the report as a default.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. It's a
All
very good
right.
point.
So yeah, so that was so that's why it was hard for me to answer that question in Facebook because it's just a lot of moving parts, and that was it. So I'd like to ask you. We're done, and we went over. So thank you very much for the people that stayed extra. Um, how useful was this? Like, you ever find yourself having to adjust your AR at the detail level? We'd love to know. And if you have any other suggestions, email either Mark or Mark at righttoolpro.com or Hector at righttoolpro.com. Any ideas about building an AR adjusting tool, which I already gave you the mechanics, how to do it manually with RightTool. But if you have any ideas on how to enhance that concept, it will work the same with AP as well. AP would be the same thing. Accounts payable with vendor open balances and that sort of thing. So yeah. So Mark, you want to add anything else before we wrap it up?
I think that we covered pretty much everything I can think of. Yeah, I'm looking forward to working on the stuff that we have here. Honestly, God, we have enough stuff to last me for like
We got, yeah, so we
4 weeks
got two
probably.
months, so we could go pretty quiet in tax season, and then when we come back in April and do our next session, there will be quite a bit of stuff to showcase people. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, everybody.